How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video where this time we will be looking at dinosaur villains because it's Halloween. And I don't know, that's my idea for a Halloween special, I guess. But dinosaur villains are cool, if you ask me. Like, there's a lot of dinosaur villains in media. Most of them are carnivorous dinosaurs, of course, but a lot of them have like had a lasting impact on dinosaur media as a whole. Some of them have some really cool designs. Some of them have some like really cool presence to them. So it's something that I just want to talk about just for today, essentially. I won't be looking at every single dinosaur villain to ever exist. I only chose 4 of my favorites because I wanted to keep this a little bit more focused. And if this video does well and all you guys want more of this, then I can definitely do a part 2 and so on. And we could take a look at more dinosaur villains. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So I want to start off very early on with the Land Before Time. And I'm talking the first Land Before Time, the first original sharp tooth. Of course, there's a lot of different sharp teeth in the whole Land Before Time franchise, and a lot of them are really cool. Some of them have some pretty cool designs and things like that. But in my opinion, none of them come close to the original sharp tooth. This one was amazing. He really set the standard. Like, he just came in hot, and he like had terrifying sounds. He had awesome animation, a really cool design. Everything about him was just absolutely perfect, and in my opinion, screams iconic. He sports a kind of like dark green coloration with counter shading, a mouthful of razor sharp teeth, and some blazing red eyes. He's also incredibly agile and is probably always hungry because he lives in the mysterious beyond where there's not a lot of food, so he takes every opportunity to eat. He's even able to hold his own against a fully grown Apatosaurus, that of course being Littlefoot's mother, in what is one of the coolest dinosaur scenes ever. Seriously, the fight between the Sharptooth and Littlefoot's mother is one of the most like well-lit and like animated dinosaur fights that I have ever seen. Like, it's kind of hard watching that fight and then watching some of the fights in the later Land Before Time movies, like, where you can tell that they didn't have quite the same budget, because that fight is just visually stunning. You have volcanoes going off, the ground is crumbling, the T-Rex, the Sharptooth and Littlefoot's mother are silhouetted. It just looks absolutely breathtaking. And he's a great villain, of course. You can just see him as a hungry animal, which makes sense. Again, it doesn't look like he really has too much to go for when it comes to the mysterious beyond. So again, he just definitely needs to take every opportunity he can to eat. And so, he's a little bit of a sympathetic villain, but he's definitely portrayed as the villain in the overall movie. But yeah, I seriously I love it. I love it. It leads into one of the saddest movie scenes ever, of course, that being the death of Littlefoot's mother. But all around, this is a great start to this mini list I have going on here. After that, we'll move on to Disney territory with Disney's Dinosaur, that being the Carnotaurs, who, again, are just hungry animals. That's a big theme when it comes to dinosaur villains. More often than not, they're simply just hungry animals. I do think that we could kind of step away from the narrative that carnivore equals evil, because, of course, carnivore just equals hungry for the most part. But again, they're just portrayed as villains here. That aside, their design is also amazing here. They are absolutely massive and bulky. They have some counter shading of red with white on the bottom, or like whitish coloration on the bottom. They're covered in osteoderms. And of course, they have the signature horns set right above the eyes. Of course, these guys are based off of the real-life Carnotaurus, which is significantly smaller than how they're portrayed in the movie. Like, it's insane how huge they are in the movie. But that does really make their presence felt, because they're these massive animals that obviously strike fear into everything that comes across them. We start off the movie pretty strong with them because we're introduced to a singular Carnotaur at the very beginning of the film, and it causes a stampede of iguanodons and a bunch of other ceratopsians, I think some Parasaurolophus as well, and unfortunately it kills one of my favorite dinosaurs, Pachyrhinosaurus. But from there on out, the standard is set. We have a terrifying giant creature that, again, is just looking for food. And that does remain pretty consistent throughout the rest of the movie, as they're only following the herd because they're hungry, and it's also shown that they're not really dumb villains either. I'd say that they're portrayed a little bit more animalistic than anything, because the final Carnotaur that's attacking the herd at the very end in that chasm, instead of just mindlessly attacking everything simply because, it eats meat, it is wary of the rest of the herd because they're now standing up to it, and it's like, hey, I don't want to get injured here. So I like that portrayal, and Everything about them is just absolutely amazing, in my opinion. For a lot of people, this was their introduction to Carnotaurus, which I think is really cool. At the time, especially, Carnotaurus was a lesser known theropod. So seeing it get like the role that it had, I think is really cool. And again, it still has a very cool design to this day. Like this still very much looks like Carnotaurus, which I think is really cool. And the quality of the CGI is amazing. Its sound design is really good. And yeah, they're just, again, more terrifying dinosaur villains. Then we'll go on to Rudy. Rudy, the Baryonyx from Ice Age 3. Love this guy. Of course, for me, when I was younger and I first saw the trailers for this movie, I thought Rudy was going to be a Spinosaurus, given his size and just like the brief shots that we saw of him. But as we saw in the movie, he lacks a sail, which is something that Spinosaurus does have. And, you know, behind the scenes information confirms that he's a Baryonyx, just a huge, huge Baryonyx. Like, it's actually crazy how big the animals or the dinosaurs are in this movie. Like, Mama Rex, for example, is already larger than any known Tyrannosaur specimen. I think she's double, like, the size of any known Tyrannosaur specimen. And Rudy is bigger than Mama Rex, which means Rudy is way bigger than any known baryonyx specimen that we have, and bigger than any T-Rex specimen we have, of course. That's insane. That's what I call power. Of course, he's albino, so he has this type of white skin with kind of reddish eyes, like they have a red tint to them, a crocodile-like jaw with interlocking teeth, and he too is covered with osteoderms. A little bit of a trend there with osteoderms and dinosaur villains. But it gives him an overall crocodile-like appearance, and he does have like the signature baryonyx claw, because it does seem like, unless I'm very bad at judging things in images, but it seems like one of his claws on each hand is larger than the other two, which is true for Baryonyx. But he's also a really terrifying villain. He has an iconic roar, one of the coolest dinosaur roars that I have ever heard in a movie. And yeah, he too is awesome. It would have been really cool to see him again, or maybe not, because I didn't really like the way that the Ice Age franchise was going after the third one. But regardless, again, he's a very iconic dinosaur villain. And then we'll end things off with the Indominus Rex. Now, of course, I had a few choices in terms of hybrids. I could have gone with the Scorpius Rex or the Indoraptor, but I chose the Indominus because it kind of got the ball rolling, and I liked the whole idea of the Indominus Rex. Especially when Jurassic World came out, I didn't really want them to portray dinosaurs like monsters. But the Indominus Rex was a nice way for them to have monstrous dinosaurs without it actually being a real dinosaur. They just made a hybrid that just is an amalgamation of a lot of different dinosaurs, and like, you know, since it was all fictional, they could have made it act however they wanted. And they showcased her as like a psychopath type dinosaur that kills everything that she sees. She befriends the raptors, she attacks the patasaurs, which is something you simply don't do. She attacks brachiosaurs, which is something that you definitely don't do. And she really cements herself as a good Jurassic villain, like a good dinosaur villain. One that was incredibly satisfying to see the downfall of. Like, you're really excited to see Blue and Rexy take on this hybrid of a dinosaur that was just gone wrong. Like, I think that all of that was done very well in the film, and that's why the first Jurassic World film is my favorite of the trilogy. And again, she's just filled with all kinds of different dinosaur DNA. Like, I'm not even too sure what all she's filled with. Let me check real quick. Okay, so let's see. According to the Jurassic Park wiki, she, of course, has Velociraptor and Tyrannosaurus Rex DNA, but it looks like Giganotosaurus DNA is present, as well as Carnotaurus, Majungasaurus, Rugops, Pycnonemosaurus, Quilmosaurus, and Viavenator. So I think a bunch of, yeah, Belosaurs. Deinosuchus DNA? That's interesting. Looks like Deinosuchus DNA was used to form the crocodilian teeth of Indominus that was used for grasping the flesh of opponents. Makes sense because, you know, it does have interlocking teeth too, which, you know, that makes sense. And it looks like Therizinosaurus DNA, which is out of the presence of long forelimbs with strong slashing claws. Again, that does make sense. And if I remember correctly, I think it shows over here, yeah, cuttlefish, tree frog, or of course, those were established in the film that they were present, and pit viper, which I don't remember that being present, but yeah, I could see it. But yeah, it's made up of a lot of different creatures. So these are all things that make for a very terrifying dinosaur villain that is an absolute force to be reckoned with. And again, I like her, and I really like the fight that she had with Rexy. I thought that is literally one of my favorite Jurassic moments in the whole franchise. Like, it was just so exciting to see that in the theater for the first time, and I wish I can relive that for the first time again. It was just absolutely incredible. But those are some dinosaur villains. Of course, there are a lot more dinosaur villains out there. I have covered quite a few on TikTok. I was trying to talk about a few of them for the month of October, and I would definitely like to cover more of them here if that's something that you guys would like to see. But again, these are just some of my favorites right here. Like, these are ones that I just absolutely love. These ones are the ones that live rent free in my head, basically. So they're the ones that I mostly wanted to highlight and talk about. So yeah, that's the Land Before Time Sharptooth, Disney's Carnotaurus, Ice Age Rudy, and the Indominus Rex. Some very cool dinosaur villains in my humbled opinion. So hey, what are some of your favorite dinosaur villains? Be sure to let me know in the comments and we can kind of talk about it. I will probably do a part 2 on this, even if it doesn't perform that well, because now that I'm on the groove of it, I want to talk about more dinosaur villains. Heck, maybe I can even go with like dinosaur heroes. Maybe I can even make a whole series out of this. Who knows? But yeah, that was that. Happy Halloween. Dinosaur villains feel fitting for that. But if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and a comment, and do consider subscribing. You know, that really does help, and we talk about a lot of different dinosaur things here. So it's a really fun time. It's a lot of laughs. It's a lot of laughs. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and have an awesome day.